Yeah, we were reading about this tiger from Malgudi by r.k.narayan, and we were at the place where the captain, who is the owner of the circus, and his wife were bickering in their home after the day's work, and she was pulling him up, and he vice versa. So then we also had read last time about how the tiger and the goat were being trained for their performance, where the tiger would be made to sit on a stool, and uh, suddenly there is a goat opposite to him, and the tiger, in fact, now all these things are said by the tiger as if it is in his first person singular. So the tiger says, "Oh, suddenly there's a goat." So I am distracted by it, and I want to pay attention to the goat because that is more interesting to me than this saucer of milk. But then he is trained to ignore the goat and to drink the milk, and finally he drinks it and finds it so distasteful. But the goat drinks that milk from the same saucer, so that is the performance. Both the tiger and the goat will put their mouths to the same saucer and drink the milk. But the tiger doesn't like milk, whereas the goat will lap up the milk. So that was going on last time. And uh, next day, I was put through a new set of exercises. I means the tiger. I had to sit until the goat had started lapping up the milk, then take my mouth to the saucer at the same time and pretend to enjoy the drink in his company. This was a trying moment as the proximity of the goat's head and its flavor was overpowering. I was perplexed at the way the whole thing was working out. I was amazed at the foolhardiness of the goat, which enjoyed its milk, notwithstanding possible annihilation any moment. We had to rehearse this piece day by day until I was supposed to cultivate a taste for milk and an apparent distaste for the goat. When Captain was satisfied with the results, he made me rehearse the whole series, starting with running around through obstacles and fire and coming to rest for a saucer of milk. He set special value on this part and announced it with fanfare for the Jubilee show, where it was to be presented as a 4-in-1 act. Before the Jubilee, he presented me in single item acts, each once a week. He announced me to the public as that miracle tiger Raja the Magnificent. I must have indeed looked grand and mighty, with my yellow and black acquiring a special gloss, possibly through doses of milk imbibed each day. He explained that I was not an ordinary commonplace tiger, but an intelligent creature, almost human in understanding. He can read the time. He always held up his stopwatch in my face before I started my round of runs, saying, "Mark the time, Raja, and keep up your speed." So, Captain presented his shows 6 months a year in Malgudi town. A team of men went round to the villages in the district, clad in fancy costumes and with the beat of drums and a megaphone, advertised the circus. They drove around village streets in a Model T Ford, painted black and yellow to remind one of the tiger. They went up to Komal, the farthest village, nearly 50 kilometers from Malgudi. On festivals and holidays, the patrons arrived by bus, lorry, bullock carts, and bicycles for the show. Coming into town for the circus was an exciting event for the villagers. who turned up in family groups, camped in the town under the shade of trees, in the veranda of Albert Mission College, or in their wagons, after unyoking the bullocks and leaving them to graze in the fields. At every show, all the seats in the galleries were taken, as were the benches and wooden chairs and the squatting space on the bare ground not far from the stage. 6 cushioned seats were always kept in reserve for a hierarchy of local officials on whose goodwill depended captain's survival. When the monsoon set in October or November, the circus moved out of Malgudi to other centers in a long caravan, parading the animals, which made the circus known all along the way. The central office at Malgudi worked all through the year. At every show, Captain made a speech, sometimes autobiographical, and sometimes to boost a special act, such as mine. He delivered his message in at least 3 languages, as he explained. In Hindi, since it is our national language and given to us by Mahatma Gandhi himself. Also in English, because as our beloved respected leader Nehru put it, it opens a window on the world. And in Tamil, because it is our mother language, mother tongue, in which our greatest poets like Kambar and Valluvar composed. Also the sublime, inspiring, patriotic songs of Bharati, who can ever forget them? Whatever the language, he spoke flamboyantly, always touching upon his personal life. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, Romans and countrymen, as Shakespeare said, I love my circus and the animals that have made my business a success. And I have pitched my tent here because I love Malgudi. I love Malgudi because I was born and grew up here. I was a backwoods boy living and playing in the dust of Abu Lane. They sent me, hoping to make a scholar of me, to Albert Mission School. But fate willed it otherwise. I won't waste your time recounting my adventures while you are all eager to see the performance begin. You will see my life history in book form, in a shiny, colorful brochure with my photo on the cover. It's sold at the gate at cost price, so that young people may cultivate ambition and the spirit of adventure and bring our nation a great name. All that I wish to say is that the great circus master Dadaji of Pune adopted me and trained me, though I looked like a vagrant and was indeed one. And he employed me at first to clean the stables and then taught me how to educate animals. I cannot begin the show without bowing in homage and gratitude to the memory of that great master. Captain was considerate and helped us conserve our energies by regulating our rest periods. On off days, he sent away all the herbivores to forage in the lower reaches of Mempi Range. Camels, horses, elephants, and zebra went out in a sort of parade through the streets of Malgudi and returned in time for the next show. A set of animals always had at least 2 days rest between performances. He did a lot of paperwork beforehand, scheduling each animal's duty and offers in a month. He studied the roster containing the names of animals. He had christened every one of the animals in his collection. And drew up a sort of chart for each one of them. The most strenuous part of their lives was during the training period. At that time, he was unsparing, and if they perished during the training, he took it as an inevitable risk of his trade. Once they were trained to perform, he viewed them as his assets to be protected, his own prosperity depending on their welfare. He bestowed special attention to my part of the work. It always came after a trapeze sequence, which was his wife's show. He never made any speech for introducing her, a matter which made her grumble from time to time. But he just waved her off. Everyone knows what a grand team you lead. Your girls are famous and need no introduction. Also, it would sound odd for me to speak and boost my wife. So, then the wife would, so then they would bicker about who should talk about her and who should talk about the tiger, etc. Now we'll have a little break.
What is that?